Welcome to the Simple Minds podcast, where six mates unpack three topics over a new drink each week. Fuck it, just go with that. We'll fix it if it's...
Welcome to Simple Minds podcast, episode 19. You're here with Travis Hayto. They finally let me back onto the main chair, the main microphone, after a long absence.
Because you weren't here.
Good point. Anyway, to my left we have the most soothing voice in the world, Mr. JB Justin Bourn.
Sup? That doesn't go the second time. It does not work.
Don't tell them we had to retake the front end.
I didn't. You just did.
Just because you stuffed it up. We've got digital marketing extraordinaire Matt Hanham next to JB.
Thanks, Trav. Good to be here.
And we've got the bomb dropper, and that's just not farts. That is words of wisdom, Conrad Francis.
Oh, that's good. You know.
And Michael Duncan. Nah, just joking. And we have the stoic man himself, Michael Duncan.
Hello.
And Santiago?
Yes, missing Santiago himself, Marco No.
Down, where is he? He's down south somewhere?
Yes.
Bustleton, yeah, recording.
Yeah, 24-hour cycling race,
Yeah.
I believe. So,
Shout out, Marco.
crazy man.
Yeah, we might as well throw that in there. Hello, Jose.
Anyway, so it was my chance to bring the booze.
Yeah, what
You
is
can't
this?
call this booze,
This looks
mate.
like milk.
Well,
Yak
I
milk.
felt like going like a girly drink. No, to be honest, I was just really lazy and just grabbed it off the thing. And when I was walking out of the house, Ashby, my wife, raised an eyebrow and was like, "What the hell are you doing with that?" And then she was like, "Well, don't drink it all." I said, well, it sat up there for 3 years,
Cool
and you've only
song.
drunk like 3
Yeah. It's a milky
Oh,
substance.
it's only 2014. Nah, just joking. It's all right. It's a cool swan. It's a Irish cream liqueur, so it's like a Bailey's basically. You want to drink it on?
It's like a Bailey's, but a cheaper version.
I think it's actually more
Things don't
expensive.
go well in the Hayto host household.
I think it's actually more expensive. It's a whiskey with Belgian white chocolate and Irish dairy cream.
It's fancy.
So yes, it's quite nice. Just
It's an acquired taste.
yeah.
Cheers.
It's very sweet.
Cheers.
Yeah, it is very sweet. It's just like a nightcap. Other than
Hamstring stretch.
Yeah, Bailey's is a good old Bailey's type drink. So really good.
yeah, I love chocolate.
Bailey's type
So-
drinks.
I
Well,
do enjoy
mate,
it.
this is a bullshit call. This ain't fucking chocolate.
So it's actually just tastes like melted down white chocolate.
It
No, it
does.
does not.
It does.
Yeah, it does.
You guys have been baffled by the bullshit on the marketing, mate.
Exactly.
Call it what it is, yak's milk.
It's got that colour, isn't it?
If it is yak's milk, still good for you, isn't it?
Well, your one is, but I don't know if you... Anyway.
It's someone's milk.
All right. Let's get started. I think we're jumping over to the soothing voice man himself, aren't we, for the first topic?
I believe so. And then who else got? Conrad.
You got me.
Yep, afterwards.
Can't wait.
Can't wait.
I had teased Marco with it, and he goes, "Oh, send your material." I said, "I can't send it to you, mate. You guys made the rule."
It's true, we did. And I did challenge you before we come in. Because the irony of my topic is I've been swelling with a few ideas and I've been trying to, how do I pinpoint it and mesh it kind of into something for us to talk about. And I attended a workshop this week, which was good. But what it highlighted was that we talk, and the funny thing is, episode 19?
19.
Did we even mention that?
Yeah.
Okay.
But weren't we supposed to let Travis introduce who he was?
Yeah,
from the front end of
we
this
were
stuff?
actually. Should we do a quick
back
jump
on
back?
Trav.
Just a
Yeah.
good-looking fella. That's all that needs to be said.
Quick bio.
All right.
Multidisciplinary.
Husband to a beautiful
He
wife,
opened with that line.
beautiful girl Ashby. Father to my cat Winston,
Fur baby. Another
fur
one.
baby. He's a good little boy. No, I'm a creative. I have a photography background. I've been a pro for about 8 or 9 years. A lot of commercial and advertising, sort of my game. I love portraiture. I love photographing people, getting the best out of people. That's sort of my niche and my sort of passion. I've recently bought another business, a pewter manufacturing. So pewter is a tin alloy.
Because there's so many synergies.
Yeah.
Actually, is.
Let's
That-
begin with P.
yeah. So, well, that's the funny thing. It's just totally left field. It was more.
There's way more synergies than you think, but if
Well,
you
it-
stop and think about it.
Of course there is, because behind the packaging, it's the business, right?
Yeah.
P&L's the P&L.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing that I love for it is that we're actually creating something. So with photography, I create something, and with the pewter company, we create something as well. So
See, clearly I missed all of that creative stuff.
we give the ability to our clients to create some pretty cool stuff. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm 28. I've come
It's not
through.
a dating site, mate. It doesn't care about your age.
What's your start?
Swipe left.
I'm a Capricorn, 6'3", slightly ranger.
Slightly
That's about it. Bit of a hairy beard at the moment. Oh, not really. But need to shave.
do you know your why? Are you prepared to put your why on the table?
I thought we were just doing a little infomercial here.
Yeah, it is.
My wife.
Why do you exist? Why does Travis Hayto? Why are you on this planet?
I want to. I just want to inspire people to create really cool stuff. You know, whether if it's pewter or whether if it's photography. I get really mad at people. I get mad at people and frustrated when they say to me, "I'm not creative at all," because I believe everyone's creative. I think everyone has some form of creativity, and they can, they're just sort of down on themselves if they don't. So that's kind of one thing for me is to embrace that and get that out of people.
Because it's not nurtured, is it, through life? Like, I reckon it's beaten out of people, creativity.
Absolutely.
Some people keep it, some people keep
Yeah.
that connection, but a lot of it, yeah. But you're right, everybody is.
Yeah.
Everybody.
And it takes a lot to not work at it, but it comes naturally to some people, and others.
Yeah.
Some people have to kind of put a few things in place to get that out of them. But yeah, that's probably my why, Conrad. Thanks for putting me on the spot.
Just thought I'd ask.
It's all right. Lucky I live it every day.
I knew you'd have an answer.
Wise words.
No basketball mentions in there.
Oh yeah, no basketball mentions.
He retired last year, apparently.
Yeah, apparently. So, I play semi-pro basketball, so state league for the Perry Lakes Hawks. Thoroughly enjoy it. Lots of life lessons you can learn from playing a team sport, which I'm learning more and more as I get older, which is pretty cool. But yeah.
Love it. The other notable mention is that I'm sure listeners can hear that hopefully the quality's a little higher now.
Oh.
And we've upgraded our kit significantly as of this episode.
We're legit.
We are legit now. Let's get on to our content, hey?
Let's get on to the content.
Let's
I
go,
like
JB.
buying that bit of extra time.
Oh, I noticed.
Appreciate it. So as I was saying, we're episode 19 now, and it's funny how we talk, all sorts of topics, and you can kind of keep talking about them. But what's interesting is when you're awareness, you know a lot of things, but it's what was highlighted to me going to this workshop is that, you know all of that, but it's so good to kind of almost have a refresher, because you go by the day-to-day, you do the whirlwind, everything happens, and things just fall to the wayside, and you're like, yeah, I know about that stuff, or self-awareness and gratitude and all these things. And it's vision and your why and culture and all these elements, leadership. And I think it's sometimes nice to go back and recap on certain elements, because as we've talked about, it is part of the journey as well. And you never, I guess, arrive at a destination really knowing these things. I think a lot of these things are experiences and testing and things like that. So I really struggled to bring, a pinpointed topic to today's session. But what the theme that I wanted to bring up was ego. Ego. That's better.
Not the ice cream, obviously.
Not the ice
That
cream.
was a good ice cream though.
No.
Oh, there was an ice cream called Ego?
Yeah, Magnum Ego.
The
What was
It's
in that?
chocolate and then caramel and then another layer of chocolate and then white ice cream.
We could be having that instead of this liqueur.
Yeah.
Couldn't be any worse.
So the reason I bring that up is there's a great book, Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday, and I essentially have a summary, another person's version of a summary of that book, and I want to talk about that because There's a few things that have been going on for myself this week, and I've been challenged with, I guess, other people's ego, my own ego, and I think when you're, I wouldn't say refer to myself as a leader, but when you are leading an organization and you have a team, it's interesting to try and I guess be aware of ego, how to communicate to it. And like I said, I don't necessarily have a particular topic, but I'd like to just talk about it a little bit more in, how it can hold us back, and maybe the question is like, sometimes there can be a lot of negative connotation with ego, but, is there a positive connotation to it? And I guess what I'll do is quickly read the summary of Ego is the Enemy, who Samuel Thompson Davies, this is his summary. He has the book in 3 sentences, and they are: ego is an unhealthy belief in your own importance. Ego is there undermining us on the very journey we've put everything into pursuing. Ego can be managed and directed. So that's his three sentence summary of Ego is the Enemy. Definitely a great book for awareness on ego, because I think Ryan Holiday's writing style is really great in that he he supports concepts with stories from history. And so there's like many little history lessons in there, and it's really great. And then there's he's got 5 big ideas which come out of this. At any given time in life, we're aspiring to something. We have achieved success or we have failed. So that's number 1. Number 2, we must cultivate humility, diligence, and self-awareness if we are to remove ego. That's a good one to kind of talk into. Maintain your own scorecard. Don't fake it till you make it. Just make it. Always stay a student. So always stay a student's a pretty powerful one, which I think, again, we've talked about before. So, like as I said, I don't have other than this week is highlighted. I feel like sometimes my ego's held me back from doing things, which is, I don't know about the fake it until you make it situation. But I guess maybe we could go more down the path of, can it be used for positive? How to be aware of it, what's everyone's thoughts on it, and just kind of see where we go with that. Unfortunately, I don't have, like I said, a particular point, but that's where I want to just put to the table, put to our sexy mics.
Conrad, should you go first? You got the biggest ego.
Boom.
I thought it was being kind to Conrad Day.
Death stabbing. No, that was me. I'm being kind to Conrad.
I didn't say anything about it.
I got you a nice, comfortable chair.
Hey, listen, I mean,
Well, to be human.
Sorry, Justin.
Is to have an ego. Yeah, I mean, ego is
I think,
an integral part of being human.
it provides you a counterbalance to an alternative as well, right? I mean, I think so. Everything in moderation. I mean, it is an issue, and it's kind of interesting to the topic that I'll talk about later. Thanks, Justin. But I believe the ego, in a way, is your counterbalance to where you should be, and that's, and I've talked about this a lot. Your egoic state doesn't necessarily propel you, but it does give you context and a reference point.
It's like a ballast in a ship.
Yeah, 100%. That's a very good analogy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess as well, because of some of the conversations we've had around vision versus ego, and I know we don't want to necessarily, we've covered enough for, I think, vision a few times,
But vision or aspiration, where you want to be, yeah.
Yeah. And then it's the counterbalance of ego, because it is almost a paradox, I think, sometimes, ego itself.
I think, you can't get rid of it. What was the second point said about actually getting rid of the ego? Or
We must cultivate humility, diligence, and self-awareness if we are to remove ego.
You can never remove the ego.
No, but you can neutralise it.
You can,
Because an ego, in the sense of how it is typically defined, doesn't allow you to grow or create. Ego is a counterbalance to creation. Because it's deep-seated in your belief pattern, and your belief pattern, based on my learnings, are largely limited by nature. Which is why when you hear Ryan Holiday speak and the Stoics speak, the ego is the way. It is address the ego, don't follow the ego.
Ego is the enemy.
Sorry, ego is the enemy. It is that. I mean, It is to understand it holds you back from going forward.
And I think that's the thing, is the conversation about the ego. So knowing that it's there, but being able to control it. And to
I wouldn't even say control it. It's probably, and the word control to me probably is a bit strong.
Can it be controlled?
No, I don't believe it can be. That's why I don't choose to use the word control. It's about being aware of it.
It has to be controlled.
But if you're aware of it,
Yeah.
I think it's like.
Well, that's a form of control, isn't it? Being aware, and then
Is it?
that then.
But okay, so let me put context around what I mean by aware. Okay, I can sit in this room and believe that no one's sitting here with me.
Yep.
All right, that would be a false statement, right? But I could still have that belief,
Yep.
or then I could have the belief that people are with me in this room. So that's what I mean by being aware. You can choose to ignore or choose to be aware.
Yep.
Now, when you're aware that the ego is present in any given situation, you then have a choice. The choice is, do you bow to what the ego is allowing you to believe, or do you go towards what you believe is the alternative to that? So when I say ego gives you a context, I believe in a schematic of light and dark, the ego is one of them.
Yep.
So the alternate is the other.
So what's the alternate? Is it the enlightenment or
I
pure
call
self-awareness?
I call it enlightenment. I call it your soul journey. So it's you at your highest capacity.
So what about looking at it a slightly different way? So where do you think the ego then helps in cases then to balance?
If I'm going to be black and white on this, I don't believe the ego is designed to help us other than to give us a counterbalance to awareness.
Okay. So it's just
So context.
yeah.
So you don't think there is any positive version of ego?
I don't think so.
It's only served as essentially...
It creates a positive
counter-
by giving you the context of the alternative.
Does it serve as a motivator at all? I mean, I've just been listening to what you've all said, and I feel like at times, like, 'cause obviously the ego aspect, a lot of it's the avoidance of, it's our human and wanting to be in a community, you know, that we sort of strive to be similar in ways, and we don't like to stand out, for example, and that, you know.
But is that good?
Ego, well, I think at times ego can be a motivator, and if you achieve an outcome.
But in that context where you're talking about being similar in a community, is that good?
No, not necessarily. But if that means you're, well, maybe. I mean,
some people
it might be
want
good in the if you don't want to. Well, no, but that might be the extreme case in terms of what you might be looking to do. But let's say, for example, just like good common behaviour, for example, and if people weren't motivating each other to just, you know, be decent humans, that could be a big problem, right? Like we don't.
I think there's a massive fallacy that occurs when we believe we're on this planet to motivate another human being.
So when we think we're here to motivate another.
If you just use the word motivation to
No, I used the ego. I said, can ego motivate you?
well, ego. Should you be using ego as a motivation tool?
I don't know.
It's
What
almost
should you be
like
using?
it's almost saying, here's a big stick, now respond.
Yeah, but it's a self-imposed stick.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Self-imposed or real.
It's not an external factor. It's an internal factor.
Doesn't matter.
I don't know. Why do you do what you do? Does no ego come into the equation? Of
Ego
what-
does come into the equation
of
with what
your
I do.
expectations
It does,
of yourself
100%
and
it
how
does.
you. So is that a bad thing that your ego
No,
is
it's
telling
not,
you that
not
you're
bad
this
if you
type
read
of person,
it
you
as
have,
a context.
you have these types of values and that's who you are, so you want to stay aligned to that?
Is that your ego?
I don't know. I'm asking the question.
I don't believe so.
I think the ego makes you more individual. It doesn't.
I actually don't think it does. I think the ego makes you more of the same.
No, when I say individual, I mean it creates you as a separate entity
No,
from something
I don't
else.
believe you. No, not. I think your state of connecting with your highest self individualizes you. The ego itself works to
I think
conceptually individualize you, conceptually, but the reality is I don't think it does. It separates you. It doesn't. So to me, there's two things: separation, individualization. Individualization to me is someone operating at their highest capacity for their own right, for their own issues, and for their own benefits. That's primarily at that level, and through that, you'll live an experience that can benefit mankind.
Can I just jump in there and just throw out a definition? So I've literally just Googled it, and the first thing
Who are you referencing?
I'm just referencing a dictionary.
Which one?
I've got a good one here as well. I've got one.
And I'd love to know the origin of the word if anyone's got it, because it's going to come from Greece.
Latin, ego, from Latin, literally I, the letter I.
Yep.
So me. So this definition, or wherever it's come from, is a person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance.
So that's counterintuitive to the word humility, right?
Yeah, I know, but look, self-esteem versus self-importance, I think, are two different things as well.
So this I'm saying, this is where definitions are playing schizophrenia with us.
Because self-esteem you would see as a positive, and self-importance you would almost lean on being a negative.
Well, I mean...
As a blanket.
Well, Google
right?
self-esteem, mate. I'd love to know what the definition is. I mean, I talk self-worth, self-value. I don't know. Self-esteem, if that's tied to ego, it's a word I'll never use again.
Well, again, confidence in one's own worth or abilities, self-respect. So then that's not necessarily on the negative frame.
No, it's not. So, but that can't be ego-based.
And then so self-importance, an exaggerated sense of one's own value or importance. So that, yes, self-esteem is considered... I guess in these definitions leans towards a positive, and self-importance.
So whichever dictionary you just referenced, I reckon it's a hedge its bets and should be burned.
But self-esteem though is how do you get to self-esteem?
So what I'm concerned with firstly is that there's two opposing definitions contained within one.
So let's throw another one. Let's throw Cambridge out there. Your idea or opinion of yourself.
Yeah.
Especially your feeling of your own importance and ability.
That's better. Now that there is shit. It's true. It's true. That's ego, and that's why it's shit. Because who gives a fuck about you? We talked about this last week.
Yes.
No one gives a fuck.
So would you agree with the statement that ego is the main contributor to every decision you make?
It can be.
But then look at, so there's two quick lines underneath. One is, this man has such an enormous ego, I've never known anyone so full of themselves. The next line, I'm glad she got the job. She needed something to boost her ego.
Yeah, so
equal, give her confidence.
So this is where it's a misleading word. Yeah. So the self-confidence word and the attribution of self-confidence or esteem to the word ego, I believe, is crap.
Yeah.
I love the first version because that's how I believe it exists. Now that's me, okay?
But this is the same. That's all.
So, but when I choose to understand the word ego, I understand it in the first sentence.
Yeah.
Do you associate ego with pride? Those two words go hand in hand.
If you're attaching ego to self-worth, it is. But I don't attach ego to self-worth.
Yep.
What about this quote from Alan Watts, the 20th century philosopher, psychedelic user? Some of his YouTube videos, if you type in Alan Watts, there's some really good inspirational stuff there. But he sees the ego as this following quote: "The ego is nothing other than the focus of conscious attention."
Conscious attention, exactly right. So our subconscious and our superconscious, our higher conscious, operates at billions of times faster and more than our conscious mind.
So the ego is the one that's sitting on the top.
No, ego is what's sitting in front of mind.
Yeah, but
not the top. The top is the higher conscious.
No, when I say top, I meant like as in the deeper stuff below, like the subconscious.
So you've got subconscious. In your subconscious, according to Freud and according to a few other higher scholars in the psychology world, there are three contributors to your subconscious. Okay, your higher conscious, your awakened state, and your egoic state, which is your unconscious. That feeds your subconscious.
And the egoic state is the one that when your little voice is talking in your head, the stuff day to day that you.
That's right.
That you hear.
The
chatter in your
Well,
head.
it's the noise. It's the noise. And when you silence the noise, then you can start listening to your higher conscious stuff.
Yeah.
But then that's where I think you could say that the ego is related to some self-esteem, self-belief, and that stuff, because it's the chatter, right?
And most people live on.
Because
people live on that level.
part of where I was going was a little bit of the balance between lack of self-belief versus ego as well. Like, to me, there is a connection there of somewhat, because if you don't do something, is it out of ego, or is it out of lack of self-belief? Because if you do that thing, will people, you know, will you look to fail in front of others and things like that? Is that ego or is that self-belief?
I think the ego influences that.
Which is where there's that other definition, and which is connected to pride. It was funny when you brought up pride, Hayto, because I was going through with this summary, there is a bunch of, I guess, quotes from the book, and there's 3 here around pride. Pride blunts the very instrument we need to own in order to succeed, our mind. The question to ask when you feel pride then is this: what am I missing right now that a more humble person might see? What am I avoiding or running from with my bluster?
Bluster.
Fractiveness and embellishments. It is far better to ask and answer these questions now with the stakes still low than it will be later. It's worth saying, just because you are quiet doesn't mean that you are without pride. Privately thinking you're better than others is still pride. It's still dangerous, which is, I guess, again, then links back to self-talk. But you still strongly believe that, I guess, self-esteem and self-love and self-belief are disconnected from ego, Conrad?
Yep. I do.
That's true, deeper self-love, though, not on that surface.
No, yeah, so when I'm talking about things, everything I'm trying to...
Because ego is, again, tied back to sense of importance.
It doesn't. No, it doesn't have to be. When we tie ego to self-worth, I believe it's incorrectly been defined based on the historical value in the word of ego.
Because the opening of this is ego is an unhealthy belief in our own importance.
That's what. Yeah. So I agree with that
Which
statement.
completely blocks off any learning, doesn't it? If you let the
Yeah. So humility can't exist.
Yeah. You can't move
No.
forward. Yeah.
Ballast.
Okay.
I call it an anchor.
Ego
Yep.
is your anchor.
You could drag
Ego
it.
is your anchor, which stops you from moving forward.
I would 100% agree with that.
Oh, fist bump from over here.
Well, this is what it talks about, right? Because you must cultivate humility, diligence, and self-awareness if we are to remove ego.
Yep.
And you can't really move anywhere.
So
until
with
you remove
self-awareness, you become aware that the ego's at play.
If we're using the ship analogy then, maybe the ego is all the people underneath rowing in different directions.
Could be. I just use it as an anchor.
Oh, okay.
That'd be almost an anchor. It's kind of like an anchor anyway if everyone's rowing in different directions. It's pretty much the same thing. That's like a sea anchor.
But all these chattering voices
Yeah.
down below.
It's the noise. And it's until you silence the mind through meditation and those
Again,
acts,
working in
can
harmony.
you hear your higher self, which comes to you through humility and gratitude and all that higher level consciousness.
We're all one anyway, aren't we? So.
Hey, that's a segue. That's a topic change.
Yeah, I talk about it. I talked about it yesterday.
Interesting when I said the individual, and
Yeah.
you're saying that we are all.
Well, we aren't one. We aren't one. We are three. We are ourselves, our version, how we see ourselves, and how someone else sees us.
But we are all exactly. So we're all together. Yeah.
Are we?
Yeah. We all came from the same thing, didn't we?
Did we?
Oh, definitely. Okay.
Depends on your definition.
Exactly. Perspective is your truth.
Perspective.
That didn't happen over 7 days, did it? Come on.
Didn't it?
No. Big Bang.
I think this has been a difficult conversation in that it's really just attacking definitions. Or like,
But it
I
is.
think-
But you have to attack definitions,
No,
and
but
I've done it for years because we get told shit. So, but what is the truth? So when there's fact out there, go to fact.
There is no.
Yeah.
Go to fact, and then
There
when
is no
fact
truth.
exists, opinions don't exist.
There is no truth without
course there
some
is.
form of perspective being. Some
No,
perspective
it's
is
bullshit,
clouding
man.
any truth.
Go
Of course
back to
it
the
is.
right origin of the
Okay,
word,
if
and
there's two
then
people
find
there-
out where it actually went
There
wrong.
is really no.
Because that's when the
actual
world
truth.
went wrong.
Oh shit! There is actually no real truth, right? Because there's always going to be
When
a
fact,
slanted
when
perspective.
fact exists, truth is not debatable.
But what fact? So then someone's consuming the fact, and then they're going to bring whatever they believe and look at the fact and perceive things their own way.
So it's all bullshit. If somebody wants to twist a
That's what
fucking
I'm saying.
fact, the fact
But it's not
exists.
twisting
You mean
a
like a
fact. There's
scientific
different
fact of
perspective.
When you do this,
Yeah.
it happens, or
No, it's not perspective, mate. When fact exists, how can perspective... There's one singular truth. Black is black, right? You can debate as much as you want.
Well, it's not.
But the entire continuum of the world has agreed that the darkest colour on the planet is fucking black.
No, you just said the entire continuum of the world has agreed.
Yeah.
There's a perception, there's a group.
Perception, yeah.
So what, you want to call it fucking navy blue? You do what you want. There's only one truth.
Dude, what are we arguing here?
Black and white.
Black and white.
No, but like I'm just saying,
These egos at play.
There is no way to look at anything with complete objective activity.
You have to. You're in business. There is an outcome.
No. Yeah, no, of course there is. But then there's always we always bring with us some form of historical. We don't walk up with zero, no matter what it is. Even if they're, like, say for example, we're watching a video of two people having a conversation that we've never met before, we're going to bring our own experiences to how we process that information, no matter what. There's ego in that.
Okay. Now you're saying something completely different.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you
it's
are.
the same line I've been running from the start.
Because you're talking
black is
about
not
opinion.
black. Black's not a colour.
You are
Black's an amalgamation. And like,
you are talking
grey,
about...
That's probably grey, but it's actually black.
You're talking about your opinion. When fact exists,
But fact,
opinion doesn't.
There is no fact.
The fact with black is that our eyes only show us a certain amount of the visible light. Yeah? If we actually could see what was out there, you'd be like friggin' like. So that's the fact. The truth is that light is telling you what that colour is.
So black doesn't exist?
No, but every fact needs some story to go with it.
No, it doesn't.
It does, because otherwise there's no, like... Okay, where's an example? Who's got an example? Who knows what I'm talking about here? Can I get some
I'm
faction
happy
going
to
on
hear
here
this
behind?
debate, and I'm happy to contribute to it. But
No, but you
I
get
mean,
right.
it is a sidestep.
Let's
I mean,
talk about law then.
money.
Yeah.
Money's the same. Money.
How-
Money doesn't exist.
no, it
Is
doesn't
that fact?
exist. Exactly right.
Is it a fact?
So if I spend
Money is
$50,
so money.
Is
as- as you-
$50 $50?
No,
if I
it's
spend
not.
$50 on a
So
cup
black
of
is
coffee,
not black.
is that expensive? If I spend...
How can you, okay,
Hang on.
money doesn't
No,
exist because
no.
money is a promissory note that's back in on an
Okay,
economy.
exactly.
So let's talk about money.
So
If you
is
want
it a
money, it's
fact?
not black.
Is it worth $50? So if I
No,
spend
it's not worth
$50
$50.
on a cup of coffee,
Black
is that
coffee or
expensive?
white?
If you can afford it, if that's what you want to pay for it, then it's fair value.
Okay, what if I spent $50 on a cup of coffee?
If you spend
and I was
my
on
$50 on a
Mars
cup of
and there
coffee,
was
I
no...
think you're an idiot. Right, if you want to spend your $50 on a cup of coffee, do what you want.
There's always context, man. That's all I'm saying. There's always context. It doesn't fact.
No. You guys are muddying the water to service yourselves, and that's okay. All right, I don't have to be convinced. I have an opinion based on fact, and I'm okay with that.
And my ego is now allowing me to not try to convince you anymore.
Control.
I went first, though.
Control the ego.
My ego got withdrawn first.
So would you say self-awareness of your ego is a powerful thing to...
100%. It's the singular most powerful thing to
So
be forward.
ego can be managed and not directed.
Ego has to be directed, not managed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because your ego is your decision-making process, because
Yeah.
generally making all your decisions through your ego.
So don't try and manage your ego because it'll blow the fuck
Yeah.
up.
So you have to be aware of your ego to
So
then...
you can't manage it. You can only point it in the direction that you want to point it,
Yeah.
rather than
Which means you've got to be aware
rather
it's
than
playing it out,
controlling
grab it
or
under your arm
managing.
and take it on your journey.
So to
So
go...
that, and I guess that comes back to the question: is that then when ego is used for a positive
No.
intent? Still not.
No.
Why?
I don't believe it's you're aware
Well, if
of
you
the
can't make a
negative
decision-
and you're moving forward regardless, but you're
Yeah.
moving forward with it not down there. You've picked it up and you've taken it on your journey. It still exists.
But you're not-
You can't
yeah.
change your underlying beliefs. It's where your ego exists. You cannot change that. And your beliefs are negative by nature and limited by nature, so you can't change that. You can only be aware of how it's playing out. And when you're aware of the pink elephant in the room, then you can deal with the pink elephant in the room. You can't eliminate the pink elephant in the room.
Sure.
So be aware when it's playing out, cuddle it, and take it for a walk with you. It's still not serving you.
I think can definitely agree with that. Ego never serves you correctly. So I guess then that would answer the question. It itself cannot be used
That's right.
in a positive, I guess, light.
And I was a debating champion from way back, so
To go full circle on it though.
On the badge.
debating.
To go full circle
I
on
got
it.
that one a long way ago.
Your
Funny that topic
your
you just
comment
brought up.
about
Guess what I want to talk about.
having the seminar this week, and it kind of re-jolting you back because you're aware of those sort of things, vision, etc., and then it re-jolting you back into line because it sort of gave you not a wake-up call, but
To some, I guess, yeah, it's in a roundabout way, it highlighted to really, really always be the student.
Yeah.
Did you see ego in action? Is that where it came from?
I think I may.
Yeah, that bloke in the poster. Who was in that poster?
I know, right?
That's
No,
structure.
and this comes back to whether it was lack of self-belief or whatever it was there was something that I could have addressed 9 months ago. And, you know, it's like, why didn't I? And now I'm at
You've
a
been
point...
lying to me for 9 months.
No.
It's probably not lack of self-belief. It's probably the other way around.
And
It's probably that you were quite comfortable feeling like that. You were
Procrastination
Correct.
is ego.
And
echo.
that's what I mean. Like, that was ego, right? So
Were
there's
you
there's a
aware of
thing
it 9 months ago?
I was aware of it
Okay,
9
so
months
then,
ago.
yeah, definitely ego.
And then the comfort of it didn't allow me to move, and so this is kind of why I wanted to
Was
talk
I
just-
aware of
was
it
it
9 months
student-
ago?
Probably not.
Have you
Justin,
dealt
I really think
I'm
we're trying.
dealing with it now because there's been a slight crack of not taking action on this element has started to appear. Because again, you become too comfortable, and I guess would you agree comfort feeds ego?
Yes.
Or the other way around?
No.
No.
That way.
That way. Comfort
Comfort
feeds ego.
ego is comfort's created by ego.
Yep.
Ego's
And
nurturing that.
And it's almost like you have a couple successes or wins or whatever, and that's when ego really starts to at play,
Oh,
owns self importance,
yeah.
right? And that's always like keeping at balance of like, yeah, this is not right. Always being the student, no matter what. And I
That's
think
the key, buddy. I mean, if you're going to always be the student, guess what is at play?
Humility.
Okay, what kills ego?
humility.
Humility.
Yeah. And I think it is always a tough balance when you're, I guess, quickly thrusted into a position where, you've got some sense of significance or importance. And you've got to fight that with that humility and always be the student. So, in a roundabout way, I guess, by going there, did highlight and question, which comes back to that self-awareness. Like I said, we can always talk about it. We can always talk these themes. However, it's amazing how really almost a sideways thing that you really expect pulls either a layer or a crack into whatever that is and just gets you going.
It always
right?
happens when you take a step up.
Yeah. My point of it was because obviously you can't manage ego, you have to direct it. And if it's going off in a direction and then you go to
It's
something
part
like
of
this
you.
and
That's why you have to direct it.
yeah, exactly. So, and that's why it comes back to that point is always be the student, because you always have to be on the journey of being directing it rather than always be too
through
comfortable.
seeking external information.
Yeah.
You're not seeking compensation. You're seeking resolution. So when you seek to resolve, that neutralizes ego, which seeks to compensate.
Say that again.
Seeking to resolve, so seeking resolution.
Yep.
As opposed to seeking compensation. So as opposed to bringing everything into how you see it.
Yep.
Not how it should be seen.
Yep.
That's how you neutralize ego. And you can't do that without humility.
Yeah, 'cause
Responding, not reacting.
to some degree, you could then change what black looks like to suit your own ego.
Of course you can.
The definition.
Because you're the magic.
But because that would be pulling in.
Still
that,
no truth, but
that would different topic, but that would be pulling in, right, as opposed to So it was interesting, and it was something totally unexpected, and it's gone down a different path. And I think it's just interesting, and because I think when ego's at play, more ego comes to play, and it just starts to
Well, birds of a feather, right?
yeah,
Ego part.
and particularly when you're in a team. One or two people, with big, it all kind of surfaces.
But that's why they talk about talking to vision with your team as opposed to anything else. Because if you leave yourself to talk about anything else other than vision, then ego will be at play.
Yep.
So speak to vision, speak to vision, speak to
So
vision.
you're all looking at the one
Yeah.
thing, right?
Yeah.
So what about some tools, practical tools that you think can help control or
Justin looks like he's seen a ghost.
Direct, not control. Direct.
Here's a better question, just to help him out. Not to diminish your question.
I thought that was quite simple.
No, but Justin looks like he's seen a ghost. Speak to yourself 9 months ago. What advice would you give yourself to deal with the situation that you now have seen come about?
I think.
How could you have handled it better?
How could I have handled it better? I think I didn't ask enough questions of the situation, like the topic or the theme that it was. I thought I knew what it was, right? And I clearly didn't, and I didn't seek enough kind of I guess, alternatives and or even professionals or it sounds like I was seeking dog, nothing like that. But surrounding myself with people who knew that in much deeper element than what I did.
Yep.
My knowing and learning of what it was quite surface, and I'd implemented something and then I was trying to revisit it thinking I needed to adjust it. And that held me back from taking action on it for 9 months because I felt like if I got it wrong again, then you look like a failure again, which is, yeah, damn right, ego. So I think, I don't know whether it was a practical tool and or if you're putting off something, I don't know whether this is a tool, I'm just spitballing right now. If you're putting off doing something that you've talked about, really ask the questions of, what is it that is holding you back? Because I would say if ego is an anchor, then whatever's holding you is some form of ego, I guess.
Yep.
If we're referencing it back to ego, that would be a takeaway
exactly
from this
right.
conversation,
Exactly
right?
right.
Is that if I'm not taking action on any movement, because I just didn't take action on it. Like I knew it, I talked about it.
Well, where procrastination exists, ego's at play.
And so, in anything that I'm like, why am I not doing this? I think that would be the first thing, then asking that question. Now, knowing what I now know, the wheels are turning in the direction to resolve this issue.
So you think you're opening up your more vulnerable side? Does that help? So becoming if you're more vulnerable and admitting the fact that you probably needed to just jump into the action 9 months ago, which would have opened you up to being vulnerable in front of your team or whatever the situation is, would that have helped?
Look, I think that's an element of it, absolutely. You do have to show vulnerability. I don't know whether this is a side thing to move past ego too, or that's a counteract to get the movement going. But I don't even know if it was being vulnerable. I think it was more of I wanted to get it right again, and I didn't necessarily 100% believe that I was going to get it right, and that held me back.
See, what you just said, I want to get it right, fits with one of those belief patterns.
And there's and I guess perfectionism and all this other stuff, right? Which is a huge ego thing, which always holds a lot of people back.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know what any other tools or summaries, but if anyone else wants to contribute.
Well, I think why don't we jump into Conrad? Sounds like your topic sort of leans into this a little bit. I can only guess that it might.
I don't know.
It does a little bit. It's actually quite interesting. And Michael just alluded to it. Well, you guys probably didn't hear it. I want to talk about masturbation.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Say that again.
Masturbation, not
Mustardation.
the alternative masturbation, which you guys have probably heard straight away. Masturbation.
So is that? Did
peril-
you
Sorry,
say that's what
can I
you-
get a spelling on that?
Is that for clickbait so we can advertise this?
Of course we can. Of course we can. Because it was.
Conrad wants to talk masturbation and financial services.
I did tell the person that complained about not being able to hear me today. I did reference the fact that I was going to talk about this topic today, and they said, "What?" I said, "Yeah, can we talk about your experiences?" And she goes, "What do you mean?" And she didn't hear me right, and it made her go all stupidly pink in the face. But the word masturbation, MUSTERBATION.
I wasn't aware it was a word.
Yeah.
Well, it's a word that was derived from a psychologist, Albert Ellis. I couldn't give you the year. I should be able to give you the year that word came about. But I'll give you the context of the word. Do you suffer from masturbation? I hope the 15-year-old boys listening to this 30 to 40 times a day. But anyway. But so do you suffer from masturbation? It is always must and should and ought with you. This is a phrase coined by the renowned father of CBT, Albert Ellis. Musty thinking is a classic recipe for general anxiety and unhappiness. That's like the psychotherapy is also known as inflexible demand thinking and rules for the living. We talk about ego, right? This is exactly what feeds down to that. So let's take a look at what it is and how we can neutralise it with a healthy, realistic preference thinking instead, so that you can feel cooler much more of the time and cooler of yourself and much more happier with the outcome of your communication skills with others. Now, people in this room know that over the last few weeks, communication has probably been very high on my agenda with a couple of situations that I've been playing out with in the office and outside of the office. And some would say that I am very egotistical and I'm very...
Is ego in that word?
Egotistical.
Opinionated.
Opinionated. Black. All of the above. And so I've spent a lot of time over the last few weeks self-reflecting on who I am and how I react and respond in situations. And I came across this reference. So words like, or references like, I want, therefore I must have. I must be thoroughly competent at all times, or else I'm incompetent. You must behave as I think you ought to, or else there's something wrong with you. You must treat me with respect and kindness, or you're a bad person and you should be punished. Things must be comfortable and not frustrating, or life is awful. Now, I think I've actually said some of those things in the last few weeks. But the psychology behind that is that we are trying to create an environment of control that doesn't harm us, which, upon reflection to me, challenges me as to why I do that.
So you're saying you use must too much? Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
So this
I have a
person
demand.
must
So
do this.
I have a demand thinking and rules for living scenario going on. You guys must agree with that. Seriously, you must. There is no way that you can. Well, you don't have to. If you don't, I'd love to hang out with you for a beer later because I'm sitting in this room and I'm pretty vulnerable with you guys at the moment because all of you know me very well.
Yeah.
There's you can hear crickets right now. I'm being vulnerable right now. I'm talking about me.
Yeah.
So when you think about the psychology behind this, it directly feeds into your ego. Now, I'm telling you, I practice non-ego, yet my environment is very ego-driven.
Yes. Yeah.
Based on your mustiness.
Based on my demands and my rules for living.
Yes.
Yeah, you create an environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is almost paradoxical. And I think
Because I think I'm coming from the good place.
Well, we were talking about your level of awareness of topics and this type of stuff. Can it almost do you more harm than good, knowing these type of things and having rules and disciplines and, you know, like that naivety is bliss. Not knowing any of this, would you be more happy? Right? So, yeah, it's a little bit of a paradox.
Must.
I'm gonna-
Must is you're demanding of something. You want this to change to your way of
Yeah, so it's demand thinking.
Yeah. And so you're...
To fit in your box.
Of course, yeah.
Which is ego-driven.
Of course.
Of course it is.
So how do you be both? You create the environment you want.
Yeah.
You want that environment. You create it. I'm no different. And then you say, and as I say, where you try and work on shedding layers of ego.
Yep.
But it's a complete paradox.
Complete.
It's a complete paradox. So what's the answer?
So the
Or
part-
is it? What are we even talking about? and
Well,
striving for?
so the alternate to demand thinking and the safety of what you're trying to create, because that's what it comes down to, right? You're trying to create a safe space for you. Your demand thinking, your rules of living, because it fits your box.
But you're kind of setting yourself up for failure with that sort of...
No shit, Sherlock. I mean, then that's what I've been doing all my life.
Yeah, because you saying must means that you're going to be disappointed.
But then, as Justin just referenced, I can fairly and squarely debate and argue every point someone wants to put on the table through fact and knowledge. That doesn't mean they have to understand, nor do they have to buy in. What it's actually taught me, though, Justin, and this is the path I'm on at the moment, is that the one step I have to take is a step towards vulnerability. And for me to benefit from my knowledge is not for me to assert my knowledge, it's for me to step back from asserting my knowledge.
Assert's a good word, I think. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Why?
Because if I'm going to sit there and continually to throw rules on the table, how life should be lived for every human being,
Well, you're setting yourself up for
For what?
hardship.
Can I
Well,
quote
actually-
Marco No from last week?
Yeah, go
None
for
of it fucking matters.
It does,
None of it
exactly
fucking
right.
matters.
So
No,
exactly right. So it
nothing
doesn't
matters.
matter. What we read, what we research, who gives a fuck?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, but why? So hang on. You want to be a better person, right? Is
So
that what
being
you're
a
saying?
better person.
But why?
Why?
Yeah.
So that I can experience life to its fullest. And if I'm going to make things fit in a box, how the hell am I experiencing life?
Because we do require and need some form of system and operation.
Do we? Or is that what we've been told?
Well, no, I think that's what we desire. It's part of what we desire. We like routine.
According to Tony Robbins, we need certainty as one of the core human
Well,
needs.
but certainty of
uncertainty.
what?
And uncertainty.
Yeah, because you need to counterbalance everything.
I mean, life is.
So what do you need certainty with and what do you need uncertainty with?
Because the problem is, well, though, if you go too far down, nothing fucking matters. It can be quite almost depressing.
Yeah.
And, like, it can be really like, what's the point in life, right? So if you go too far down that element, I think is also very dangerous.
Well, it goes back to that monk stage, that state, of allowing yourself to feel, but, still
But it,
not having too much, not getting hung up on it too much as well.
So
but
I
is
like
it,
to touch on it
what's,
earlier.
but the other question is, why is it your responsibility?
It's not.
It's not.
It's
But
not.
you know what you have got? A purpose. So you have a purpose. You have a vision. You have something you want to achieve and do in this
Sure.
world.
But that's mine, not anybody else's.
And everyone should just be pushing for that. And if they don't have a strong enough one, they'll be following yours or following someone else's.
Sure, but I mean, in saying that, I'm very clear that for the want of a better description, I don't need any more disciples. I don't need one.
What have you actually changed any of your behaviours over the last week or so directly because of your understanding of your must mentality?
The path that I've chosen to take or delve into more is the path of vulnerability,
Yep.
which means allowing people to come to their own resolution of their own time, and then giving you the space to make your own decisions.
Okay. But, so you're still putting in place the request or your vision, but allowing people.
Sure, communication's important, and
Yep.
people to understand where you're coming from. They don't need to care about what box you're putting them into.
Yep.
And like I was touching on earlier, no human being needs followers.
Yep.
Everyone needs partners.
Yep.
A lot of us need leaders, but we don't need to lead people from a following perspective. We need to lead people to being their best versions of themselves.
To become more leaders.
Yeah, to become the best version of themselves, to lead themselves.
Yep.
No human being needs followers.
No. At the nth level. Okay, I'm not talking about politics. I'm not talking about footy teams. I'm not talking about
Instagram.
stuff. I'm not talking about Instagram.
What about war?
No one needs it. No one needs it. It's a want.
Yeah, a want because they have a desire
Which is fed
for
by the
whatever,
ego.
yeah, for whatever reason
Because
to achieve
their rules for living
a vision or a purpose.
or their demand thinking is dictating that.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
no one
what's
needs that.
actually wrong with that?
But everyone needs a purpose, right? So they're going to join that purpose. That's fulfilling them, though, right?
In the absence of their own purpose, everyone is a follower.
And people wants to contribute to every human wants a deep desire or yearning to contribute to something larger than themselves. So can they not be
Yeah.
but not everyone has the ability or goes through life in finding their own individual, I guess, own individual purpose that serves.
Well, what should be your biggest rule in life then? I mean, is life not about finding life's meaning?
I think some people like to be led. I think some people find it
Great.
comfortable.
Then they'll be reborn into following again as an ant.
Yep.
I mean, if you want to believe that Hindi way of life,
Yep.
If the purpose of life has any value, then the purpose of life is about your life
And get another
and
go
what
at
you
it.
create, not about what you follow.
No, not entirely. I mean, you can create. If every human was running around saying, "I have this major purpose and I'm going to go and achieve that," and I'm going to there's a big
But I didn't say it has
difference.
to be major. I didn't have to say major.
What about being number two in a team or something?
Mate, I'm an assistant coach on a basketball team.
Yeah,
All right, I am a number 2. Yeah.
yeah.
You know, I mean, if you want to believe that Hindi way of life, You don't think I have a purpose in that position?
It's like being an entrepreneur.
Yeah. I have value. I have purpose.
But you're also in a team sport environment. There's a defined game. There's a defined set of rules to play within, more or less, and then it's easy to come to a collective vision and goals on in that type of environment, right?
But I believe that I can contribute to that.
Yeah.
Not follow that.
But so does a lot of other people. So you set
I'm
goals and parameters of what you want to
on
achieve and how to do it.
contribution, not on following.
No. Like in your organisation, like in your business organisation, you set a series of frameworks, a series of technology, a series of everything
based on
else.
contribution.
Yeah, and then other people come along and they go, you know what, I like that model that Conrad's leading. Within that framework, my vision is to step forward, and my purpose is to help move the needle.
So that's their contribution. That's their purpose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what's wrong with you setting some of that framework? People like framework.
I get that, but followers are the absence. So let's get definitions right here. Followers are not following their own purpose. When I say followers, people that are following for the sake of following. Okay. Let's talk about the parishioners of a Catholic church. All right.
Yep.
Who follow an indoctrination of a religious culture on the basis of what? And hey, for the record, I'm a Catholic. I go to church, so I'm talking from an insider's perspective. I see people do things for the sake of following, with no real basis around purpose.
Because it gives them comfort.
Why? Because they're scared of the alternative.
Yeah.
But this is the whole paradox. So then you have an expectation on people to not be followers. I don't have it. I'd love to see people do that. I don't have an expectation. Sure.
So when I surround myself with people at my closest, I'm not surrounding people to follow me.
Well, maybe from an evolutionary point of view,
you
talked about the ant before.
Yep.
I mean, the ant colony has, that little follower ant or soldier ant, he doesn't know he's a soldier ant. Yeah, he just does what he does. Yeah.
Of course
Maybe humans
Of course
are
he knows
not
he's a soldier
far.
ant. He was born into that.
He does not know he's a soldier.
Of course he
ant.
does.
Yes, no, he doesn't.
Of course he does.
He's just doing what he does.
How does he know what to do?
Or do you reckon he goes, I'm a soldier and I'm going to go and do this? No, he just does it, yeah?
How does he know that?
Because it's in his DNA, yeah?
Or is it just in where he's born in a society of the ants and he just follows his dad?
No.
Oh, so so you know that the ant doesn't know what he's doing?
He doesn't have a conscious mind knowing what he's doing
So it's an automated behaviour?
Yes.
Based on what?
Based on DNA, based on
So he's born into it? So his dad was a fucking soldier ant.
What I'm saying, he doesn't know he's a soldier. He's just doing the job that he's there for, yeah?
Semantics though, right? But semantics. So you're kind of where you're sitting with this. The counterbalance is being vulnerable.
Being vulnerable, yeah. To release demand and to release the rules and to be open to. I mean, you can have your own framework for your own belief system, right? But
Question for you then.
Yep.
How's being vulnerable going?
It's hard.
I've got a statement for you. Conrad, I don't, and ego or not in my opinion of things, I don't believe you're doing anything wrong.
According to me, I don't believe I'm doing anything wrong either. But
it sounds like there's pain in this conversation for you because you feel like there's something you need to change or not doing correctly.
Because when I'm referencing people's behaviours around my expectations, it doesn't tick boxes.
What boxes have you set up to tick, though?
My rules of living.
The reason why I say that
Your
is because
principles.
I know you have
your values.
Yeah, your principles and values. And I know you have a purpose and a vision that is a positive thing for us in a small or big community. So we're all human. As we move forward and continue to try and bring that purpose to fruition, we're going to make some mistakes. We're going to do some good things, some bad things, some massive broad stroke amazing things. We're going to make poor decisions. You're moving on a path that is designed and by your own you've defined and designed this to improve and help other people as well as yourself whilst you're on this earth. 100% good.
Do you think it's your
forget about the rest?
Expectations?
100%. But that's my expectations are based on my framework of rules of living.
Yeah.
So lose expectations. I can have my rules to guide me.
Yeah. And that's all you need to concentrate on. Yeah.
Now, if somebody does something that's broadly against whatever my rules are about me, then I have well within my rights to take a step to the left or the right. I'm not within my rights of judging another human being because they're acting within their rules.
Yep.
So to bridge that, if to give people an opportunity to come to the same page per se, it's only then through communication as to why those rules exist that allow you to enable yourselves to get on the same page or not, or agree to be on different pages.
And then at some stage a decision is made that it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Or,
Yep.
yep.
But I think the opposite of that is what exists. It's not being vulnerable enough, being protective. And when you look at being protective, what are we being protective of?
Ego.
I think the big thing is really around that. It's not awareness is it's what it is, but anyone who I think is asking questions, looking to consider how they behaved or how others behaved, and you're looking for growth. And as long as people are in that frame and that mindset, then they can't really do anything wrong, can they? Because whether they do something that's perceived as right or wrong, it's that they're looking, I guess, with the right underlying value, and that is that they're here to leave the place better, and that's what we need to do.
But that's the opportunity everyone has, right?
Everyone has that opportunity.
It's not necessarily their responsibility.
But I think you'll find a lot of it balances out. So there's people that do horrific things, up until, let's say, they're 22, and then all of a sudden they go through some major life situation, they change, and then they turn around and impact the world in a very positive way. That's a very common story, right?
Is there?
Oh, look, people that have been involved in, major crime or whatever. It's a really common story.
It's a pretty common story, right? Like either you were child abused, or you were a drug addict, or you were whatever, or you were neglected, and typically a higher chance of those people are the ones who go on to do amazing, great things to influence and change society because of the horror.
They've seen
the atrocities and the horrors they went through, and they don't want others for that. You find it's kind of why simple things like immigrants to Western countries are much more successful on average than homebred, because
the lazy factor.
It's the same situation, right?
Yeah.
So you're definitely right. You can, I guess, if everyone's seeking intent, if this is the intent is good and pure, and everyone's a different reference point in their journey, I guess. I think the challenge comes back to when you're a certain level is how long do you until you make the call of this,
or do you not
working.
make the call? And I suppose there is a call, isn't it?
Well, we talked about that at breakfast the other day. Even in hiring and firing employees, do you fire them or do you allow them to go off their own volition? And I don't think there's a right or wrong way. I used to think I used to have a badge of honour on not sacking anyone, but I believe that maybe sacking somebody may be a path forward for them and you.
Yeah. Yeah,
well, in a sense, you didn't rip the Band-Aid off, right?
No.
Instead, you influenced the leaving.
Because I believe my rules of living was to see him achieve or her achieve. So I've kept them around, and they hadn't achieved, and they ended up walking out anyway.
Well, that was because as well you felt that you could help them achieve the whole time. Sometimes you just got to allow others to go off and find out themselves. And by holding on to that, we can't control everything and we can't influence everything.
And that was the ego at play there.
Well, we can influence everything. We can't control everything.
You can't necessarily.
We can influence everything that we want to influence.
That's true. And then you can't. The only control you have is, again, either cutting whatever that is out or changing how you think about it. Right.
Yep.
So, it's paradox.
Paradox.
Oh,
that was a pregnant pause if I ever had.
That's our longest pause ever.
I'm not going to ask you how the drink went.
Do I need another drink?
Clearly,
maybe, I think I do need one, but maybe it might not be.
It was alright.
Milky.
It was milky.
Actually, I was giving a bit of grief, but I don't mind a nice iced version of said drink. Late one night here or there. So very nice change up, Trav.
Every drink has its purpose.
I don't know what this purpose is apart from paint stripping.
And no ego.
You're allowed to not like it, Conrad. It's okay.
This one comes with 35% ego.
But just keep your opinion to yourself next time.
I don't like it.
Less opinions.
Probably wrapping up there for episode 19. I think another good episode, and we'll see you next week.
Ciao.
See ya.
Champagne.
Champagne.
Champagne.